Welcome back to the Screen Love Affair podcast. Today we'll be discussing Sam Raimi's highest rated movie. Believe that or not, it's Send Help.
Oh, I didn't even
Or,
know that.
yeah, that was a big part of the buzz for me. I saw many a post, and to be fair, it was probably right before it came out publicly, but it was
Mhm.
like, this is Sam Raimi's highest rated, either Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, something
It'd be
like that.
Tomato Mater probably.
Yeah, it was like 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Spider-Man 2 was 93%, and Drag Me to Hell was 92 or something. And I like Drag Me to Hell a lot, so I was excited to see him kind of get back to his kind of, wackiness, I guess, in a normal kind of contemporary movie. But yeah, so I went to go see Send Help or Send Heppel. I really like that gag.
Yeah.
I was going to butcher the intro, have you correct me, but I've never related more to a character than that moment. I was like, that would be me. If I was stranded on an island and I was micromanaging the person next to me to get us off the island, the one task I do, I definitely misspell Send Help. So we'll get into that bit. But yeah, sit on down. Let's talk about this. I think it's a $40 million budget, opening weekend, $20 million splash. So that's pretty good these days, especially for not IP, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's get into it. What do you think of
Well,
the
I
film?
want to start off because for me, I did not want to see this movie purely based on the trailer. I'd seen the trailer a lot, unfortunately, in front of other movies, and it is a fucking terrible trailer, like awful. It hits all these like stereotypical beats, but it presents them in a way that seems like the movie is not aware of them. And the thing am so happy to report is that the movie is very aware of them. It knows what it is. It plays up all of those beats for like maximum cringe. And like I felt like an idiot. I put in my letterbox review afterwards. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Sam Raimi, that I doubted you because of a shitty trailer. And Adriana and I went and saw this on Thursday night. So it was like opening night, preview screening. And we had a decent crowd. And I fucking loved this movie, man. Had so much fun. You could not, basically from the moment it started, I couldn't wipe the smirk off my face. And like, even though like you knew there were like kind of the bits were going, you knew the setup, it played with it. And then also like there was things that surprised me, and I think again this was one of the things that maybe a benefit of having such low expectations, that I gave this movie no credit on the script. And so like things that were kind of surprises in the movie were surprises to me, and I'm like, oh, like I didn't think of it. And so yeah, overall this genuinely was whatever expectations and hopes I had. It cleared those easily and blew right by. Like, what an absolute fun time at a movie theater. And I know we like Harv go see movies in theaters. This is a crowd movie. This plays so well with a crowd, and it was so much fun. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about this. I have a couple minor nitpicks. Which if you know us and you know the show and you've seen the movie, wouldn't surprise you, with things like a little digital effects and at certain points that I didn't love, but they weren't bad enough to take me out. And again, they were kind of zany enough that it was easy to get over it in the moment. So yeah, that's all I have on the spoiler free kickoff thoughts there. But yeah, I loved this for sure.
I would say to your couple of nitpicks, I have probably a makeshift raft worth of nitpicks. Lots of nitpicks. I would say I too largely enjoyed it, but it was full of nitpicks. Like, I guess that's not a fun way to watch the
Okay.
movie. And, I think at one point I've said the way you approach some movies is with the Redditor lens of knowing the filmmaking and being
You're
like,
the Redditor this week?
I was peak Redditor. Without spoiling anything, like the trailer shows this two people stranded on an island, and I couldn't get away from the feeling that there was some shots in like the jungle or wherever they would be at times that was like so claustrophobically shot because it's like it's a soundstage somewhere, so that's the Redditor being like, I know they're trying to save budget, so I don't like this now. But I never agreed with you on that take when you said it, that before, talking about like, low level lighting or costuming to hide, stuff. I definitely felt like this movie, as much as I was stoked and I was like, oh, Sam Raimi's coming back, maybe I went in overhyped. I definitely think
Okay.
that it came across for me a little bit more like Sam Raimi light. Like, it wasn't doing
Okay.
as
That's
much Sam
crazy.
Raimi as I wanted. I thought, yeah, I thought you were going to be more on my side of this and say, I wish they went more over the top. Like, I wish they went more to 11. There's a handful of scenes where they do, and those are my favorite parts. But in between getting to some of those crazy shock moments we'll talk about in the spoiler half, I really felt like the writing and the character talking was just like slowing it down. Like I could feel the audience wave of phones being pulled out
Interesting.
throughout the movie, and I almost didn't fault them. You know, like I almost like we have the lycometer. I feel like I have a phonometer, and it was riding like a 3 out of 4 phones in the crowd for like every conversation scene. And now I'm not justifying those people in the theater, but I could sense the boredom levels rising, and then we would get hit with the Sam Raimi over the top camera work, punchline payoff, gore, and everyone like would just shut the hell up and enjoy the movie, which was great because yeah, I had, you know, Toronto's a melting pot. I was hearing Portuguese to my back right. I was hearing a Hispanic couple talk to my left. And then, you know, I don't understand what they're saying, but whatever they're saying, they stopped when the movie started doing what I wanted it to do.
Right.
But God forbid on a Saturday night in Toronto, people were just kind of out and about trying to get out of the house, freezing cold winter vortex
Yeah.
we're in. So yeah, it's a great place to, it's a great third space to loiter and have conversations is the middle of the movie, I guess. But yeah, I just, part of me, I guess, is holding this against the movie. I wish it was more exciting because I definitely felt myself and the audience getting bored with it in between some of the amazing set pieces. Um, to kind of summarize it all, this movie falls a little bit more mid for me, like, you know, very
Okay.
close to like, I was giving it a 2.5 the entire runtime, barring a few scenes. I would elevate it to like a 3, but it's not a
Okay.
mid movie because it didn't do enough and was just so blasé. It's because it did so great and was so bad. Like, Shay, instead of a podcast, I want to tell my pet parrot how I felt about the movie to get the audience up to speed
Oh,
about how
see,
I
dude,
feel.
I don't. This is so funny to me because this, like, again, this is the beauty of movies. Before I preface into this a little or dig into this a bit more, like, it's so funny because I feel like in an alt timeline, you and I just have the complete opposite
We just
feelings
switch
about
seats
this
every
movie,
week. Yeah.
right? And I promise, like, we don't talk about it. Like, I was. And I'm so glad I did because I hope, like, I'm worried again on the impacts on you because I know we've been up in the air with recording stuff right now in terms of what we're watching and all of that. And I was so jazzed coming out of the theater that I started texting you that I was like, dude, we have. And then I stopped because I was like, I don't want to fuck with this guy. He already goes in with expectations and what I don't want to add to it. I'll just say, yeah, I saw Send Help, dude. We'll probably could do an episode on that. So I was trying to play down how high I was feeling coming out of that. But I gotta say that parrot scene, this is what I mean. Like, that's a great example. And this is early. This is not really a spoiler. She, you know, Rachel McAdams' character has a pet parrot that she talks to at home. And it was very much how they were delivering a lot of like information through this conversation, and also just random cutaways to like books on her shelf that was like furthering this kind of survivalist, outdoorsy person that she is. And I thought, again, in this context, like, this is the difference between the movie being aware of what it's doing and trying to like ham it up, where I'm like, she's such a loser that I do believe she talks to her parrot, versus this feeling of like, how do we deliver, like, I don't know, and just feeling like it was second nature, or like second thought, like, no one will care. And again, this is where I feel like I felt the intent, and maybe it was again because I was like so expecting so little that it worked, but I thought
You
like
felt
it
the intent,
all
but
of
I
that
felt the writer's
added.
cold hands writing the script in front of my eyes, trying to get the
No,
point across to
I
set up the
was
payoff later. Yeah,
I
I was
was
like, nope.
Oh, I was, because yeah, like, to me, it just further, like, I was giggling at all that. And I think, like, especially, like, there's other beats, like, at the very beginning where they do a close up where the guy's like, smell something on his hand. And they do this close up where it's like only his nose and frame. And he's like, so I was
Yeah.
super like aware. I'm like, I was just, I think from those beats at the beginning that I would have expected to just be the lazy, like, we get it, she's a loser, let's move on. Like, they were so, like, they were ringing it so hard that I was uncomfortable, like, when she's talking to them and like she's so friggin' awkward and does not pick up on any cues. So like I just found like I was getting so wound up by that, and so like when they furthered it with all these bits, like all of that worked for me. Like genuinely, I was not off board this movie at all outside of these minor beats of, again, the visual effects. But on the dialogue, like there's a scene you're talking about later that's like characters, like their discussions, like I was always locked in. I loved both of these performances too. Like
The
not
performances were
super
phenomenal.
familiar with
Yeah.
was it Dylan O'Brien or whatever? Not really
The Maze
familiar with a
Runner.
lot of his work. Yeah, I never saw that.
Me neither.
But I thought he was phenomenal in this, and between like, and again, there's definitely more details. I'll get into that in the spoiler chunk, but yeah, like I just I feel like if you go in with the right headspace on this, like you'll have the same experience that I had, which was just like, don't going in like crazy high hopes. And like even the same Raimi, like I was worried, I'm like, how much of this is gonna bleed through, because it looks digital too, like the digital cameras, it feels very on the surface like everything else, and
Glossy,
lighting
yeah.
and stuff like that. But he does, like, again, this is like the difference with intent in those shots, like again, these weird close-ups of their like nose and mouth, and like these camera whips, and like he has some pizzazz that really helped me overlook and get over the digital part and just really kind of dial in on the rest of it. So like, yeah, I like genuinely, this is like, I gave it a 4. It's in like for the firm love scale for me, but like the more I'm thinking, like this is a 4 to 4.5. It's not a 5
Wow.
for me, but like I adored this. Like I had so much fun. I had
I'm
so much
hoping
fun with
I come
this.
out going from a 3 to a 3.5, and I hope I drag you to hell, aka back to 3.5 on this, because as you're saying, I do agree. Like you feel the same Raimi touch on some aspects of the movie for sure, and like that, those are the parts where I just popped. I was like, oh, there it is. You know, again, the close up on like smelling the tuna flake on his finger. You could also, they had the Allstate guy for that like business
Yeah.
boardroom position. His voice is just iconically too distracting, and I loved it. And when they do the close up on him smelling it, you can see the blackheads on his nose. I was like, this is phenomenal filmmaking. I can't wait to see what they do next. But then it's just kind of like A to B coverage of them talking for 30 minutes. And when you say like, well, they do the close ups, they're really priming us to enjoy the Sam Raimi stuff. I was like, they kind of abandoned the close ups for the most part. Like beyond that, like those were kind of like comedical close ups, like something that I
Uh,
feel like a lot of people shy away from now. It was like, again, excellent filmmaking for that, but then they kind of abandoned it. There wasn't really many points on the island where they're like, you see this, and they hold it up. Like even there's a scene, without spoiling much, obviously characters stranded on an island, somebody eats a bug, and they don't go that close on it. That would have been, they're
oh,
medium
but
close,
still,
but they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
macro on the teeth clenching in, which would have been more visually thematic and more like, wow, you know what I mean? So I wanted a
But
little
see,
bit
no,
more
no,
of
I
that.
gotta let me push back on that one specifically, because so much of that scene matters because of his
His
face. You
eyes,
need to
yeah,
see
fair.
what he's doing and reacting to. And again, this is where the cast is so critical. Like it's easy to say get good actors, right? But like, what does the difference kind of really entail? And this is what makes, again, all of these beats so much more important. Like what they're conveying in their face, or in those scenes where they're talking and we're getting kind of character, details. The two things I will say to this movie's credit is, one, like I cared enough about them, I liked them, and I was enjoying it, so I was interested to learn more about them and their kind of psyche and how they ended up where they did in life. But also the movie doesn't find really inorganic beats to have those moments, and that is one where this setting and the situation they're in lends to that time where, like, let's just talk, like that's how that would happen. And so it didn't feel like, I know we're in the middle of a big fight or something, like let's have a big, heart to heart and play beats. Like, no, like when the movie gets going, it really does get going, and then when it slows down, and it slows down. And I think, to me, it threaded that needle really well. And yeah, like for a, technically a January release, probably one of the best January releases I can think of in a little bit. So I absolutely loved
I
it.
was thinking the most January release where I was like, to me it was middling really hard, and then it had some pizzazz really hard. But when I ended up leaving, like, to be fair, Renata loved it too. Like, I don't know, maybe again, I don't even want to say I was overhyped, so you can just use that and write off this discussion. But truly, I was, even when you're like, I'm not going to overhype Brandon, he's a victim of overhype inflation. I thought I was the one begging you to cover it on the podcast because I remember being like, well, I really do
Good.
want to see Send Help. I know you just listed 3 art house movies that are only playing at one theater 50 miles outside the city. But I would really like to see Sam Raimi Send Help, please. And then you're like, yeah, I guess we could see it and discuss it this weekend. And I was like, oh boy. So I made it like my priority. I have had no days off in like 2 weeks. I'm like, babe, it's Saturday night. I gotta see a movie. I'm really excited. So I was excited. I wouldn't say I was overhyped. I wasn't like hitching my hopes and dreams of having a good weekend to this movie, but I am yeah, I guess just a little surprised, especially again, like I said, it was like going into the theater, I screenshotted it because as I've learned from other movies we've covered, when the marketing says 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's because there's like 4 reviews put up by paid actors who have inflated it, and then it drops like 40% on the worst case over the weekend. So I'm excited to check what this is at now. And as I'm probably saying this, we'll probably end up 93. So now it's
Yeah.
tied with Spider-Man 2. Now, do you think this is on par with Spider-Man 2? I don't.
Well, okay, but see, this
That's
is
a
where my
masterpiece.
scale, I would like, okay, so if I'm trying to get like technical on what's a better movie, I guess, like I would agree. But in terms of do I love both of these? Absolutely. I like that. And that's
Fair
what the
enough.
beauty to me of the Hardometer scale is, that like I'm not trying to assess, like, I don't care if like Citizen Kane is the technically best movie ever made. If I love watching it, that's what's important. And I think that's, to me, where like, yes, like I do think this is a movie I would revisit. I'd be curious to revisit it. And again, like, not to, like, again, I'm like harping on you, not to dismiss your expectations, but I like went in expecting not a Sam Raimi movie. Like the trailer I'd seen again against my will so many times, and I just repeated all these beats, and they show none of the Sam Raimi-isms in the trailer. So I was really like kind of dejected, and I'm like, this was coming off of like he did the Doctor Strange or whatever movie, like, which had a little bit of his flavor, but like not a ton. So like I was really going in with zero hope. So when there is like multiple bits and things I won't talk about till the spoiler side, where I'm like, that was the most Sam Raimi thing I could ever like possibly have conceived of, like, to the point where I don't even know if you notice this. This is not a spoiler. It's a background thing that like blink and you miss it. But the whole setup at the beginning is that Dylan O'Brien's character's dad is gone, died, takes over the company. And in the back of his office, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a out of focus picture that was clearly of Bruce Campbell. And I started popping super hard because,
That's
as you know,
unreal.
in all the
Yeah.
Spider-Man movies, he puts Bruce Campbell in basically every movie he's in. So just the fact that as they were talking about it, like the dad throughout the movie, I was just giggling to myself, picturing Bruce Campbell as his dad through all these
You know
beats
what?
too. So
You've just reminded me too. Not only is it Bruce Campbell, but the same exact vehicle from the Evil Dead franchise. It's like this dusty old, I want to say a yellow Chrysler always ends up in these movies. It was definitely a multiverse of madness. But I was gonna say she's driving a pretty crappy old car before she gets to go on the trip. And I swear, like, I almost want to like freeze frame it and go online and like look at the dashboard because it's a very tight shot of her like, you can do this. You're gonna hang with the big dogs. And then she goes up to the private jet, being like, "What's up, again?" You know, I know I came in critical of this, but I would say acting was so phenomenal. I hated Rachel McAdams. I was like, this is the most autism coded I've ever seen like a celebrity play successfully without it being like simple Jack Tropic Thunder or you know
right.
what I mean? Because I was like, wow, she is not getting these social cues. And like, oh, dude, and Dylan O'Brien when he's like, who's the lady with the Payless shoes? I was like, oh,
Yeah.
dude, he reminded me of my favorite and worst bosses, where it's just like super cool hang, terrible management. You know what I mean? Like, so for the boys, I bought into both characters pretty immediately because I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what it's like to be looked over, but I'm also like, yeah, I also know what it's like to look down on people. It's fucking awesome. So I really do like the characterization, again, the acting, and like I will say, like, once we get into spoilers, like I know we probably have the same reactions. There's some scenes in this movie that are genuine masterful filmmaking, and it's so simple. It's reaction, sound effect, tension, a little bit of score, and even the score in this, like in the spoiler free half, I feel pretty confident saying like there are scenes that have like these bombastic, like
Mhm.
Hollywood horror, intense thriller sounds and soundscapes coming at you as they're running through the woods or chasing something, and it hits you like, oh, this feels like a movie again. It's not just like ambient kind of
Right.
vibes. You know what I mean? I appreciated that, again, in the Raimi aspect. It did feel like there was this intentionality and intensity to a lot of scenes. I just think it contrasted a lot with some of the earlier scenes. But again, that's good filmmaking, contrast and affinity. The more
Mhm.
alike something is, the more boring. The more crazy it is, if it's too crazy all the time, that becomes boring as well. So maybe
Yeah.
they needed to lull me down for 35 minutes before every big set piece. But it's probably not that long. It's probably like 10 minutes
Yeah, it's
between
not a
big.
long movie either.
It's not, yeah, 2 hours.
Well,
But
yeah, but, like, in this day and age, but also, like, I didn't find the pacing bad at all, like,
no, the
I
pacing
never
was
fell
okay.
out, or anything like that, so it was,
Yeah.
again, just, like,
Well,
more and more.
yeah, we'll definitely get into, like, again, I have a raft full of nitpicks, which we'll get into the spoiler half. But I'd say, to summarize spoiler free, which I'm proud of us, we normally go 5 whole minutes and then we're like, okay, so the end of the movie. But I would say spoiler free. It's a very good watch, very enjoyable. Probably one of the better things you could watch in January. Better than The
Mhm.
Housemaid, which we obviously just did a big episode on. And I didn't even hate that
Yeah.
movie, but for whatever reason, I think maybe that's the E word expectations, where I did maybe want this more subconsciously, but I think it's really good. It's very enjoyable. I'd recommend this to almost anybody, especially if you like
Mhm.
horrors and thrillers. Um, Again, creatively, there's a lot more happening here. It does feel a little boilerplate at times, but like you said, it gets punched up a lot when those scenes happen that have the directorial flair. It is like a lightning bolt. And again, my audience, who was like just full of talkers and phone people, would just snap to attention, and like they'd be like, "Oh," because like
Yeah.
something would happen and get their attention back. And it's like, we need more of that. We need people that are just making movies that get people to shut up and sit down because they have really obnoxiously intense jump scares. Like, there are jump scares in this movie that I don't even feel are cheap. They're just fun. They're
No.
fun jump scares.
Yeah.
So big recommend. I definitely, on our heartometer, I like it. I like it a lot. I don't quite love it. Very mixed on the love feeling for it. It's complicated. But yeah, letterbox, I'd say 3.35 on a good day. It was probably a 3
We'll
when I left
update
the
your
theater.
slap status to "It's complicated" for this
It's
one.
complicated. It's like a love affair, because it was short and brief, and gosh, I really don't like so much about it and the way it made me feel. But damn, if it did make me feel something for a little while, huh? Um,
No, go in with a mindset of having a fun time, and I think you will. Yeah, I think this is the kind of movie that it's like, God, like this to me is what all of these other ones, like Abigail. I know I pick on Abigail so much, I kind of feel bad about it at this point. But
Radio
like
silence is gonna come for you.
those are the kinds of movies that to me, like this should like they should be more like this. It should be like really leaning in, having fun with the bits, doing some fun, inventive stuff. There's no need to play things safe with movies like this, and you can rely on tropes and use tropes, but add a little bit to it, and I think that's what this does really well. So this is one of those ones where it's like, people are like, "Oh, shut your brain off and have fun at the movies." You can do that with this and have a really good time, and it's a movie that I think you can really enjoy, a lot more than a lot of these other kind of like middling movies that we see coming out. So with that though, let's jump right to the end of the movie. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
let's
this is
let's
the
let's
spoiler
talk.
warning.
Yeah, big spoiler warning at this point. And so I want to start this part off by talking about the Sam Raimi isms that really blew me away. And it was like the straight up zombie that like looked like it was fucking pulled right out of Evil Dead, like was killing me. It was just, and again, my least favorite thing in the history of time, dream sequences at this point, which is very taxing on me. But if you're gonna give me a dream sequence, make it a Sam Raimi dream sequence with that weird ass looking kind of practical zombie bit. Like that killed me. And again, like it's the camera work, it's these like dash cuts like that they're moving, like these sweeping camera movements, and Like, so many, like, little bits, and again, I have to bring it up. Piggy Smalls, the pig, when that
The
warthog scene
wild boar
happens,
scene,
dude,
yeah.
it was
That's what I was trying to get
fucking
at.
crazy to me. And again,
Yeah.
I was getting a little out of it because I'm like, it's like, well, the creature being totally CG is fine, I guess. Like, we have to. But like when they're killing it and I see the CGI blood, but it is intermingled with Rachel McAdams like getting actually like doused and stuff. So like I like again, it was helping kind of minimize the impact of that sequence. But that beat was so not extended but loud like the whole time, and as soon as she finishes killing the boar, the theater, like the volume, like the movie quiets, and I can hear everyone around me buzzing from
Yeah.
that scene. Like, holy fuck. Like, there
Yeah.
was a lot of like beats like that were going off, and like it was really just settling the crowd back down. And so, like, part of me wondered, like, how loud even was the theater reactions as that was going? Because I couldn't hear anything other than the movie. And so when it kind of simmered down and was going, like stuff like that, like I was just 3000%, like every beat I think just made me more and more on board with the movie, and that was some of my favorite specifics from that part for sure.
Yeah, the boar scene, I think that in specific was that it's funny, that and the zombie scene, the two scenes where I felt the most Sam Raimi like balls to the wall, fun, crazy, because he does those subtle things like you said, the close-ups at the start and maybe
Mhm.
some other little gags. But even when you talk about the dream sequence, the zombies, the jump scare comes out of nowhere. It's
Yeah,
four frames of the movie almost. Like it was very effective because again, it was the same Hispanic couple that would just start talking, and then she'd be looking at the creepy thing that I want to talk about, and then be like, whoa, and I was like,
yeah.
good, take that, you terrible theater goer. But the buildup for that is you see the fiance character who um ambiguously perished in a previous scene where they just faded to black. Big
We were
nitpick.
pretty sure.
We're pretty
Yeah.
sure she just set the keys out for them to drive off the cliff. So anyways, the whole point is yeah, she's having some grief from a very passive killing of people. And, she sees his fiance coming out of the water crawling. And again, the casting is phenomenal. That was a bit part, but I feel like they cast her to do that really creepy beach walk out of the water like that with
Yeah.
no makeup. I thought there'd be a reveal because she's so cloaked in shadow that she
Yeah.
herself was like all messed up in the face. She was fine. And then just when you like are like, oh, okay, this is just like a tense, awkward scene, like there's many in the movie. This zombie ferryman pops up and she wakes up, So again, only Sam Raimi can do a jump scare without me getting mad about it, or being kind of like, oh, a dream sequence. So I agree with you too for sure. But yeah, that boar scene again. She's stalking the boar through the woods. We've seen her like love being survivor lady, and she's living her best life. And I was getting a little bored with it because I'm like, she's gonna do it. How's this gonna work out? And sure enough, the boar scene really bought me back in. It was like, we do the start, we do some of those close up comedy bits. Then we do the airplane, which is a perfect scene as far as exposition, showing that she loves Survivor and all that. It was like, it was already sold to me that she loved nature and adventuring, a
Yeah.
solo activity because she's a loner. Again, that worked for me. But then they really hammer it home, and I'm like, oh wow, they're really giving us exposition. But on top of that, they're layering in how much her bosses and people around her just think she's a loser, and she's like
Yeah.
witnessing it. And I'm like, I felt so bad for her. I think my empathy
Yeah.
chip was burned out. I was like, okay, you do suck. You should work on your people skills. Um, but yeah, of course, as they're watching that, and I'm cringing, and I'm like, oh, please put an end to this. That's when the plane starts crashing, and that's a phenomenal set piece. So it's like,
Yeah.
a little bit of that same Raimi at the start, the plane crash about 10 minutes later, and then 15, 20 minutes from then's the boar, and then probably I'm trying to remember in between if there's anything crazy, but I don't think there was. I think it was almost 30 minutes, 40 minutes later because it's mostly in the back half there. That's like the pivotal scene or turn when it's like, okay, now they're really like gonna go nuts with this is when the murder happens and she has that dream sequence. So it felt like there was like probably 3 or 4 big standout, like, oh, there's the Sam Raimi here. I can see the DNA.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, like, I said Sam Raimi light because I felt like he delivered really well in like maybe about 5 total scenes. that I was like, ah, here we go. And it did feel like those times in between, I was kind of waiting because, like, again, I could feel the audience before that murder just started looking at their phone, and it was bugging me quite a bit. Not the movie's, no, it is the movie's fault. Be more entertaining. But secondly, I would
Well,
just kind of
no,
say,
see, I disagree. Fuck that, because I got to push back, because we are in the era of short attention spans where if you don't get a dopamine hit every 4 seconds, people fade out. Like, that is part of the idea of theaters. And I feel like if you give into a movie, and this is where, like again, I use Skinamarink because it's, to me, the most, like, one of the most dramatic examples you can give, where you either get on board with that or you don't. And if you have the ability to look at your phone and check your phone and not dial into the movie, you won't get on board. And I think that's on you, not the movie. And so I think, in a similar sense here, when you were breaking down the kind of chunks of movie, I was with you, but I was thinking about, okay, what's filling these gaps? And this is the part where the movie, to me, shines more, because I was actually really intrigued. And again, I think possibly because I had such low expectations for the movie, that I was getting won over by both of them and their performances. And as they were getting closer, like, it would have been too stale for me for this to be the opposition movie the whole time, where, like, he's still an asshole, she's still fucking weird as shit, and there's no evolution of that. And then they just, again, makes it seem like in the trailer she tries to kill him and whatever. So I loved those beats in the middle, because it made me, and this is why I said I really like Dylan O'Brien and the spoiler free bit. I really was buying into him at points where, like, oh, like, there's something else to this guy. Like, there's more in there.
you kind of
And
buy into
when they
both
get
characters because she's so unlikably
right,
cringy and he's so much of an
right,
asshole. They kind of meet in the middle. She gains the competence he had, he gains the humility she had, and they
yeah,
both become likable, which I didn't think they would do for Dylan O'Brien's character.
yes,
You
yes,
know,
that's, again, yes, for sure.
yeah. So again, like I totally agree. I think story wise, and character arc wise, it was serviceably like good for sure. And again, the performances when it comes to like facial reactions, as we talked about, eating the
Yeah,
bug, and this is near the latter half after the raft of nitpick scene I was talking about. Um, but like when there's a scene where she threatens to castrate him, and you fully believe because I kept waiting for the
yeah. Oh,
moment
I thought it was for sure going,
where
hey,
she
yeah,
was like, "I'm actually a psycho killer." That's the twist because I felt like that was coming 19 miles away.
right.
Ultimately, that really wasn't it. Much like
Mm.
the simplest, smooth brain person like myself could leave the movie and quote one of those middle bits we were just talking about, where she says, "Monsters aren't born; they're made." She was made a monster by society and people around her, and the situation she was in. She adapted. She found her sense of self again, but she did some pretty crooked stuff to do that, which is like fun. So I do totally see that.
Well,
What
and
I will
I
say.
just I just want to quickly stitch this with another beat, because I think without those beats in the middle, particularly with Dylan O'Brien's character, the ending would not work. And when he's making that pitch to her, and again, I know you hate we're jumping, but, like, we can cycle back. But when he's making his final plea, I knew he was lying. Like, I knew, like, the things here he's saying, like, "I love you." Like, I knew he was lying, but I could believe that she would believe it. And I think that is, like, such a critical beat to turn that moment into, like, an eye roll, like, okay, we know how this is gonna go and whatever. Like, they play with those expectations, but again, like, through the development and the relationship that their characters kind of formed, like, I was kind of bummed almost that, like, it blew up and it didn't work out, because, like, I was excited about the potential future. So when his wife shows up, or his fiance shows up, I was like, oh, like, and I knew she wouldn't go for it, and I knew it would, descend, but, like, it made me pain that, and it made it so I didn't totally embrace her character. by the end, what she does and what happens. Because I think the worst version of this movie is that he's such an asshole the whole time, and you're constantly rooting. Like there were ebbs and flows where I was like, "Fuck, dude, I kind of want him to come out of this now." And like, and I think that's the beauty of the character development, because if you don't get that, then it's just too kind of simple for me.
Yeah, especially because like we were just talking about the housemaid, where they went through every opportunity to paint our main character as virtuous and down on their luck because they're virtuous. I really
Yeah.
like that they kept both characters in this place of like, not good people, like good in their own world, and then when they're contrasted with other people, they're kind of the worst, be
Mhm.
it cringe, be it mean, or be it the end where she again kind of has to become the monster to make it work, her own self-interest. Again, all that kind of did work for me. I do think the ending felt a bit clunky for me personally, but
Okay.
I get what they were going for. I think I'll just lightning round off nitpicks near the end here, because I did
Well,
want
I
to
was
talk
gonna say
more.
dig in, because I want to dive into what didn't work for you, because I'm
Sure,
curious
okay.
more about that.
uh okay, so like there's a handful, I guess. There's a lot of positives. Like I feel like I could have like it's a counterbalance. Like the nitpicks
Yeah,
aren't like
yeah.
just ruin the movie for me, but the
They're
the
called
positives
nitpicks
are.
for a reason.
Yeah, so big nitpick discussion on send help. It would be, I guess, like he drugs her to knock her out so he can raft off in the middle of the night because he thinks that's a good idea. That felt a little ham-fisted and stupid to me. Like they did it to set up her castration scene. Phenomenal scene, great filmmaking. Again, the reaction, I love that. But I think that was just to service that next beat in the story. I didn't feel like that was logical for that character at all. He could have stabbed her in her sleep if he wanted to kill her with that knife. He could have gone, because there's many times where she just wakes up without him being like, where do you go? He could have just gone off in the daytime by himself. It was like the movie had a movie for a moment by him doing the poisoning. And again, the dialogue is clever enough to hint at like, oh, I never cook, I'm not a good cook at all, but this is a delicious meal. It's like it's so intentional, and it's got the yellow berry on it that she points out earlier. Like
Yeah.
it was easy to follow, and I'm not faulting it for that, but I kind of felt it like the movie was kind of giving it scenes to kind of play up the next scene, which was topping it. When she poisons him back.
Right.
Funny enough, when she poisons him back, this was a nitpick. She's like, "I caught these octopus that shut down your central nervous system a week ago." Renata was like, a week ago, you don't have a freezer on that island. And then, of course, at the end, when you find out that there is like a mansion she has had access to the whole time, I was like, okay, well, that's actually now clever. Because in my head, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, a week ago. What do you mean? Like, there's no cooler on this island. There's no Yeti cooler. It's just a coconut with her name on it. Like that's. So I did think that was really good, retroactively. But and again, same thing when the knife shows up, and he said that line earlier of like, just look for stuff that washes up on shore to help us. And then
Yeah.
he's like, where'd you get that like Japanese steel knife? She's like, you'd be amazed what washes up on shore. I too kind of just was like, oh yeah, fair enough. And then when you
Yeah,
find
I
it's
did.
like the
I took
matching
a
set
lot of it at face
at face
value.
value, which again, so
Yeah.
like the twist, I didn't feel was too lazy by any means, because I thought the twist of like she's a psycho killer, she blew up the plane, she hated them, like I thought it was going to go really really
Okay.
bad. So like I do think the twist worked for me. I just think like pacing wise, again, nitpicking it all to death, that's the nature of this, is like so the rap scene, I felt like that was a weird moment. Like again, he could have done that on his own. It was just to set up a scene where she poisons him back and lays down the law. And again, that's a great scene,
Well,
but it
okay,
felt like
but
it was only
I
to set that up.
I think you're oversimplifying a little bit what I think is going on there, because that's also the first scene after we're building their relationship up. Like to the point where I'm like, are they gonna fuck? Like they were really blowing up, and it was going in a good direction. And
Yeah,
I think the thing that was so key to me from a story perspective with that beat is that like he never changed. He was not
yeah,
like, it wasn't like, none of it felt genuine now. And again, it felt real in the moment, and I think that's what's so good about that performance. But this was him descending like, no, 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 I was just trying to get enough skills from you so I could figure this out on my own. And again, like you say, like, well, he could have just killed her at any point. Well, he didn't want to. Like, he's not a killer at this point of the movie, right? And so, like, he's not trying to kill her, he's trying to get off. And yeah, like he, you know, like again, if she catches you sneaking out, like what the fuck's gonna happen? She is weird as shit and has done things at that point that's not totally to the extreme, but like fucked with him a little bit, right? Like when like teasing him about the food and then like kind of hinted that like, what are you gonna do for me? And you know, he starts taking his pants off. Like, so there is a simmering amount of like, this bitch is crazy. Not only is she weird, she's crazy. And so I like, to me, that was really emblematic of the fact that like, okay, this guy, like none of that was authentic. It wasn't a genuine buildup. It was just him regressing right back to where he was. And that level sets us back to their conflict, because what's going to make them conflict again? Well, the guy's an asshole. He's a genuine asshole, hasn't changed.
I do get
And I
that. I do
think
get
that kind
that.
of recedes back in, and then, you know, the rest of the movie
Yeah,
unfolds.
they had to find a way to wipe the slate clean to keep that tension going because they were going so well. Like I would say, this is the
Yeah.
worst enemies to lover pipeline I've ever seen because they didn't want it to end up there. It's like
Yeah.
anti enemies to lover, which I respect because again, watching a lot of heated rivalry. That is like that. So, but yeah, no, okay. So like another nitpick, I guess. Maybe more so in the structure of it, where it's like
Okay.
and this is funny to me because I always say I'm smooth brain, but then I see a movie again on a Saturday night with a packed audience, and then I clock the smoother brains in the crowd. You know the scene earlier, the not yet scene, where she does see there's like a tourist boat, or she sees a boat leaving
Yeah.
around the corner of the island. We find out later that was probably the boat that was the housemaids and the staff
Yeah.
coming to that mansion. Um, and it is a bit of a trope that people get
Well, it
stranded on an
was actually,
island.
they show her follow it, right? So she follows the
Yes.
boat across and sees that it leads to that spot. So yeah, it
So a
was.
part of me wondered, like the payoff in the end, like it worked for me, but it didn't feel as hard as it could have hit. And I partially wonder if they didn't include that not yet scene. They did include it to spell it out for the smooth brain people that she liked being on the island. I think that was really
Yeah.
natural that you could assume she liked it. This was her fantasy. She got the power dynamic she's
Mhm.
always wanted. So like to a normal person that's not like 70 IQ points, that was really obvious. So that scene where she's like, not yet, really spelt it out. And I felt like maybe it could have been a more dramatic twist if we never kind of got that. Maybe see her see something we don't know, but to actually like say to the audience slash herself, because she talks to herself and her bird, not yet. That was kind of in that same realm. I say that, but later on, when the wife is pulling up in the search boat and she's like, no, 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 you can't come. Oh my God, fuck, fuck, hi, and she's like,
Mhm.
really mad that they're about to get rescued or the jig's up. The lady in front of me who didn't say a word the whole movie turns over to her boyfriend and goes, she just looks over at him and goes, why does she not want to get rescued or something? That's so weird. Why would you act that way? And I was just like, they spelt it out. Like you could see it if you're paying attention. But
Yeah.
secondly, they had that scene that spelt it out. And I think it would have been a slightly harder hitting twist because they do go through the length to do flashbacks later to color in the character arc a bit more. Again, like I found it a little annoying that when she goes to like, accidentally murder them because she doesn't have the gall to do it by like tying her shoe, looking up, and then fading out. If you can't solve it, dissolve it. Like it felt a little lazy to me. It's pretty obvious what happened. And then when they
See,
spell it out and they show her hitting it to show us the audience, she's now actually committed to being murdered. She's not going to leave the keys to let the drunk driver go. She's fully committed to like doming the guy off the cliff.
right. But I see,
Again, it makes
hold, like
sense.
that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. I think that like this is such a balancing act in the story of like, if the first time she goes to get rescued is that scene where they show up, her reacting that way would feel odd because we don't know, like, yeah, we know she's thriving here, but for her to freak out about the fact that they're about to get rescued would be odd. Like it would be a kind of a mismatch. So to see that, so I think that's part of it. But the other thing is this, again, this balancing act of their characters, because we now know, like, that to me was the first real indicator that she is like she's not perfect, and again, like perfect, like she's not just this kind of moral virtuous person, because that's the first indicator, like they could have gotten out and she didn't. And then so that's like a decision she makes that makes me inherently sympathetic to his character. And so I think that's like one of the intricacies of moving that like all of the plot, and for you kind of to ebb and flow on who is the better, but like, yeah, okay, this guy's a shithead dick boss, but like this is life or death. Like, this is terrible. And like, that's like, without question, what she does to him in the movie is far more morally egregious than anything he does to her. And I
Yeah,
think that's like part of those kind of beats. And I think that's where I feel like those two things fade, even if you take aside the smooth brains that had that literally stated for them and then didn't pick up on that.
yeah.
Like, I think that's just one of those kind of like nuanced bits where it's not meant to just be like, it's to complicate her character more, coming off of the movie, right, where like last week where we were talking about like how they did everything they could to avoid any such complications on the feelings of what happens in the characters. So like, that's, I guess, to me, like how I took it in, and how it felt as I was kind of going through it.
No, that all makes sense. Like you talking me through it. I respect it and I get it. I just I'm there's other choices too. Like I would
Mhm.
say, makes total sense. I'm not trying to jump right to the ending. I feel like I have one more nitpick locked and loaded. And again,
Go.
it's just a nitpick, but again, it revolves around the fiance's death. Like, because they show that rock off so much,
Yeah.
you know she's dead. So the scene when he discovers her hand sticking out of that, I don't know if you would call it a shallow grave. Like I know they had a monsoon
Yeah.
earlier in the movie, but somehow her body who falls off a cliff, which is shown to be like pretty far away from where the beach that they're staying on is, he comes out of the woods and finds just her hand perfectly not decayed with the ring on it, the engagement ring.
Yeah.
And it was it was more funny than anything. And again, maybe that was just a creative choice. Like the Sam, it's so funny,
Yeah.
But I just had that thought of like, again, if they're flashing back to show her doming the guy and she doesn't want to be found out, she wants to live on her fantasy island with this boy. They, maybe they could have shown her burying the body in like a shallow grave, and that's why the hand, washes ashore. Or maybe the boar is again digging up the body because it's looking for food. That's originally
Yeah.
like how he discovers it. And also, personally, I know I'm not stranded on an island with a crazy coworker. Like I know that I can't say I would be the clearest headed thinker. But when he finds the hand with the rock on it, he doesn't do anything for the body. Like he doesn't pull the sand away to fact check that's his fiance. Especially after that really good nightmare dream sequence, I'd be more likely to think I'm hallucinating. You know what I mean? Like I would have to rip the corpse out of the ground to fact check myself that that is reality. Because just that hand, I would be like, no way, no. Like I'm going crazy. I have dysentery. This is not real. Like so,
Right.
there's no fat on the movie because they just kind of play it off as a revelation, and then they hard cut to him running after. Like again, credit where it's
But
due.
like,
There was no
there's a
fat on
time
that. I like
jump,
that.
right? There's a time jump too, so we don't know what exactly he did
Fair.
or didn't do, because it's day and then it's night by the time if I remember correctly, or it's dark out anyway
It was
when
sun was
they
setting
have
when
their
it was a
confrontation.
sunset standoff,
You're right.
and it kind of hypercuts him running back to like
Yeah.
confront her, and yeah,
Yeah.
again, it was effective and it kept the pacing good. So I always appreciate pacing over logic.
Yeah.
But again, that's why it's a nitpick. Logically, I really felt like with the setup and also like the passion and all that, he would have done more than just like look at the hand and go, "Oh my god, no," and then run away to
Well, I mean, he had a
So
great acting beat
great
there, like
reaction,
his
yeah,
pain, yeah, was really good,
yeah.
and I think, like you said too in the previous bit, and I forgot to address it, was the cutaway from what happens. I think once again that is part of like that. So like, I'll just again, and I want to clarify too. You said like, well, you walking through like no, none of this is like, oh, this is the right way to see the movie or the wrong way, because this is the difference again on how we experience things, right? It's like, what we watch the same thing, it impacts you differently, it impacts me differently. Sometimes I like it more, sometimes you like it more, and it's always one of those beats. So it's not that, you know, it's right or wrong, it's just how those things hit. And like, so when it cuts away, what I was getting from that, on my experience, was I was hoping she didn't do that, or that at the last second she tried to save them. And I think kind of letting me stew with those feelings a little bit, until the reveal, like, again, even when like the jump scare, she comes out of the water and it's the zombie thing, like I'm like, okay, she feels guilty, that's, at least a good thing. Did she do something to be even more active in that? Or did she, like, again, at the last minute try and help them and it didn't work or something? And so I think that kind of kept me in this beat of like, please, like, I wanted her not to have done it, And so, but I was, as the time was passing, I'm like, well, they're clearly not around. So, like, what happened? And then they show the ultimate reveal for, not only did she just like not let them just fall, she took the rock and smoked the guy and like caused them to both go down. So it really, I think, like, I think it was more because if you're trying to think of just streamlining it, if you were like, oh, like it knows, they could have just shown it and it wouldn't have impacted that part of the story. But from my experience, what I was hoping was, I'm like, God, please, please not be that, because I wanted to be on board with her more. And so when they show finally that no, she actually not only led them there, but then hit him over the rock, so they fall. I was like, oh no, like, and again, by like to the point by the climax of this movie, I was kind of rooting for him. I kind of wanted him to get away, and I think that's one of the kind of beauties of that sequence too. So I don't know if you want to lead into that, because I think I will say the transition shot at the end of the movie
Oh yeah,
fucking sent me to the
yeah,
moon. Well, I intentionally didn't
yeah.
bring it up as the Raimi-isms earlier because I wanted us to build to that.
That
But
was a
when that
beautiful
when
match
that
cut.
beautiful match cut, but the way it comes back from the beginning of the whole bit, like, oh, you just want someone that's good at golf. And like, just for that to be the way that, like, again, totally organic, and just like I appreciated the beauty of that retroactively. The more I thought about it, I was like, what a fucking way to like
I,
bookend that
yeah.
whole sequence. I thought was fucking amazing, dude.
I do want to say the bulk of the podcast has been nitpicking and debating, which is like obviously that's good. That's what people are here for. But I would say like yeah, a lot of pros and like corny if that at some of them. Like sure, we'll get into the finale, but like the finale of the movie comes around and when she's doing the big walk around the island and says, see that over there? That's all poison ivy and thorns. You don't want to go over there. Renata leaned over to me. She's like, I bet there's a sweet mansion there and they could have been rescued the whole time. And I was like, no, no. And then at the end, she was
Yeah.
like, I knew it, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, fair. And then, when they're having the chase around that little mansion and, you see they're in the living room. She's got the shotgun out, and as a set dresser, I clocked this ASAP. But I saw the two like driving irons on the wall, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, with all the golf talk and all this is gonna be used instrumentally. And even knowing that as the big brain, wrinkled brain, 500 IQ guy I am, when it does get to that match cut, the whole theater went, ooh, and it
Yeah.
was such a tonal whiplash. And again, no fat, like as far as like I felt like that, like again, I was nitpicking saying some of the dialogue was a bit fatty, but honestly, like editing style, no fat. They
Yeah.
cut from that climax to like basically summarizing the end of the movie and how
Yeah.
she gets rescued, she's a survivor, she's doing golf, and everyone loves her because she's a public figure now. Again, I think that worked out for the most part. And again, that match cut, that's movie quality bought me in. I didn't go,
Yeah.
oh, they just really wrapped it up quick for timing's sake. I totally get that. And like to talk more about the pros before I talk about like the very ending here, I would say like yeah, the castration scene. Oh my God. Yeah. Dylan O'Brien's
Yeah.
face and the sound effect of cutting and, the delivery
And
and the
him
sociology.
crying.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So believable. And like, yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely popped for that. Everybody did. And again, so many audience people just going, oh, and the boar scene, like I feel like we forgot to
Yeah.
dive into it. What makes that scene great is when you think it's over and everyone starts looking for their partner to be like, oh, no, no, no. The boar is still alive and it keeps lurching down the spear,
Yeah.
and everyone went, oh my God, and my girlfriend again, who at first was like, oh, that was okay. She went, oh my God, and like covered her eyes, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm like, there it is. There's the Raimiisms I wanted, like the
That
dialing it to
extra
11.
layer. Yeah.
And that's why I just, felt it to be a little bit like I just wanted more out of that in a weird way. So, yeah, no, again, I think it pops so much more than it drags.
Mm.
I think, it drags, I think for a lot of very like film criticky types for sure. Self included, like I was the one, again, the Redditor energy I brought on being like, well, actually I have a raft full of nitpicks, much like the raft scene. So I do get it, but, I was going to
Workshop
say,
that line before we record.
yeah, yeah, exactly. They have a teleprompter that's this big. That's
Yeah,
why I keep looking over
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But no, I again, a lot of pros. But I did want to ask your feelings on the ending. You had the keen eye to clock the Bruce Campbell cameo,
Yeah.
in that desktop photo in the background. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Um, Maybe I blinked and missed it. What was she looking at the very final shot of the movie? She's driving down that highway. That looks surreal. I was like, where does this
What was she?
exist?
She was looking at the camera, dude. She straight up fourth wall broke, looked at the audience.
Was she looking at the camera or was she looking in her rearview mirror like she's looking over her shoulder for the rest of her
No,
life?
I took that very much as like an acknowledgement of the audience. Was my
Because it was
read on
like,
that.
yeah, it was like she's driving, she's looking at the road here, the camera's somewhere over on this side of the room. She looks over towards the bird, which is somewhere in the middle, and then I swear it was like she was side eyeing her like rear driver, rear mirror kind of thing, and then it just cuts. So I was like, I thought we were going to see the ring in the bird cage or on the dashboard or something like that, because she swallowed it. So I thought that's so
Yeah,
vindictive of her to like shit that out and then be like, my little keepsake from my trip to
yeah.
Thailand. But
No,
I wasn't sure what you thought of it.
yeah, I took that as a fourth wall break because, like, again, that whole sequence where we get like the dialogue of like, and what's happened since, and they just kind of recap the whole. Well, you've got a book deal or whatever. You're going to be doing a book, and like her life has taken off, and all this kind of stuff as the survivor and all that. And the song again, that coming back around to be like from the bed, like you guys are going to karaoke tonight, my go-to's one way or another, and they're all like, what, like, which by the way, if they acted like they didn't know the song, I was like, you guys are disgusting. She's the normal one in that interaction. That
No,
was the
no, I
one
think she's
time I
so
was
unlikable. They were pretending not to know it. That's like saying you don't know
getting
One
away.
Last Breath by Creed, dude. Like everyone
Right,
knows it. You're
of
clearly
course.
just trying to downplay it. Because like when she's like, "What's your go-to?" He's already 8 cubicles away. Like disengage. It's funny. So on that note of needle drops and Rachel McAdams being cringe, I would say there is. Renata pointed this out. My girlfriend was like very keen on this. The opening song when they're showing her at her cubicle, they're playing a song, and I think it's a Mean Girls song, and which is Rachel McAdams. So that's like a very like not big nod there. And also Rachel McAdams, I forgot she had it going on. Like the whole movie, I was like so repulsed by her, and
Oh
much like,
wow. Oh
well, because she was like a cringy character. So much like, Dylan O'Brien's character. By the time she's getting her beachfront glow up and her highlights are looking good, and she's unbuttoning that blast of it, I was like, oh, I forgot Rachel McAdams has it going on. She was so unlikable and unattractive on all fronts the whole movie. Again, I think like there was some very natural character transformation, both like story and physically. And I thought that was good. Like even Dylan O'Brien, he looks much more softer once his like facial hair has grown out. And
right.
on the performance mode, again, great performances all around. Like you said, so easy to say, just cast good actors, but they all nailed it. Dylan O'Brien, my favorite thing he does, which reminds me of like a few real life bosses, he does that like little like grimacing laugh. It's like like
Yeah.
I love that because he had 4 different tones of that would say
Yeah.
how he's doing, and I could tell there's times when like in the end when he's like, turns out it's because I loved you the whole time and I'm a slow learner, when she's like, yeah, why'd you make it so tough, and he laughs. It was like a like a workplace laugh.
Yeah.
And if it was like sincere, he would have been like, and he does do a very broken version of it in that
Mhm.
scene. And I was like, oh, this man's lying for sure. This is not being played straight. Like
Yeah.
we know the audience again, because I'm 500 IQ unlike everyone in my theater. I was like, he's lying. She's not falling for it. They've had too much growth. Like it's an effective movie. It's classical in its own way where it does like big scenes with big little like jumps and payoffs. Like again, it's
Yeah.
pretty good. I guess, yeah, for maybe, again, maybe it's my modern audience thing where I was saying, like, again, I could feel the boredom creeping in it sometimes and, whatever. But I think you're right. Like, it does feel more like just a good movie, but maybe from like a decade ago. Like, this would have been,
Yeah.
like a surprise summer hit in like 2007. Like, if this came out in
This would have been our
2007,
favorite movie in high school. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like we would have
you
loved
would
this
have
shit in
seen
high
Tropic
school.
Thunder, and then you would have seen this before school started or something, and you would have
Yeah.
been like, you would have gone back and been like, dude, and then the boar scene. I mean, we're still like that now at 30 years old, but yeah, I almost, yeah, I would almost say, like, you know what? I almost feel like you're totally right, and I have become a cynical critic and changed my lens of acceptability in storytelling, because I do think this is a good movie. You know what? You've warmed my heart. I like The Grinch. It's grown a few sizes today. I'm bumping it to a 3.5 on
Yeah,
Letterboxd.
there we go. There we go. No, it's hey, and I just want to point out another, whether it's correlation, causation here, but every time you have a stressed out work week, you're always a little pickier on the movie. Okay, not to bring it back to the monkey, which
You had to
which
say it.
again, we haven't talked. There will be a primate episode. So how do Brandon and I feel about this year's new monkey themed movie? Stay tuned to find out. But no, I by the end of this whole thing, dude, I was giddy at that golf shot. Like I thought that
Oh
was
yeah.
fucking hilarious, and I was giddy. And also to your point, I don't remember the song earlier, but one way or another is also in Mean Girls. I'm like 95% sure to clock
Oh,
that. So
okay. We'll
I
have
don't
the
know if there
editor
was
cue that
another
up
one.
and make sure it gets
Yeah, yeah,
put
yeah.
in
We'll
the
double
clip to
check, but
show
I'm like
how, yeah.
95% sure I can picture that in Mean Girls too, as well. They never did a sequel, I don't think, right? Okay. Can't say Mean Girls 2 anymore in this day and age because they did the remake and everything else. But leading into that sequence, like I was giggling. And again, like we talk about endings, like you and I both big ending guys. Like I took that as a fourth wall break. I'd be curious to like rewatch that again and know for sure, but again just added to my satisfaction I felt at the end of that movie, because again I was kind of rooting for him at this final climax. Like I was like, again, he was an asshole boss. She has killed his fiance, forced him to stay on this island,
An innocent
and
tour
like,
guide who was trying to help them, like a
yeah,
complete
like
neutral,
she is
innocent human
not like,
being.
yeah, like so again I'm like, okay, getting over that. I think that was again this complexity. I still at the end felt very satisfied about that, and I was like, oh, she got him good, like she got away in the end. And like I it still had that morbid satisfaction that I think this is a really funny movie actually for us to review the week after we do the Housemaid episode, because again,
Yeah.
like all of those faults about them taking characters and doing everything they can to sand off the edges and make this as easy to like and hate as possible. This movie took the two characters, and again, I thought based on that trailer was going to have none of that development, and all of that development is what really made me buy in and really dig the ending of this and have kind of those complicated feelings of like, oh, like I kind of wanted him to get away, but I can't pretend that I didn't feel this morbid satisfaction when she came out on top too. So again, I fucking loved this movie. I think it was so much fun. And God, like it's doing well financially too. Like, thank God, with like again, even given this shitty trailer, the word of mouth was good for this, I think. And I'm hopeful that it'll have a little bit of legs too to carry this, because yeah, I'd love to see more Sam Raimi getting out of like, more of this. Like you said, I had this satisfied me, but I want to see the next one and just dial that up even more. I couldn't get enough.
If you listen to the podcast a lot, Shay's like almost catchphrase is dial it to 11 more, and like this
Mhm.
is me saying it. But as I'm reflecting on this, I know why Shay likes this, because like I'm trying to think of scenes where they did like a set piece and they didn't go to 11, at least for a narrative reason, like I said, fading to black for that
Yeah.
one scene. But justifiably now with your explanation. But I would say, like, I wanted to mention it before we wrap up, but like the fight at the end is actually so gruesome when he goes to gouge her eye out and then it stays
Like,
kind of bulged and bloody. Yeah. And then for the rest of
yeah,
the whole scene, like, it's like she's just like the focus is on that eye as she's talking to him with a gun trained to him. And it's like,
yeah.
wow, yeah, this was gruesome, and yeah, sure, I had some nitpicks. Like he's got the knife when she jumps on her back, and he forgets to stab her like very easily.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll forget about that because it redeems itself with the eye gouge that pays off, and the puddle of mud or like the shit face
She like
like
ripped her
pushing.
scalp
Oh
off
my
and
god, the
everything. Like,
scalp!
yeah,
Yeah,
there was
I
like
forgot about the scalp.
it was gnarly. Yeah, it was. And again, like
Yeah,
I'm getting kind of hung up like while I'm watching it, like the digital. But again, this is where it's like they're using the darkness to mask that because it would have looked even sillier if it was doing it. But it was more like, if you're gonna do that, do those things where you dial it to 11, because I'm like, oh, and like you're shifting the eye, and you can just imagine that like actually happening. So like, as much as I'm like, oh, like it was gruesome enough that it helped me kind of overlook it in the middle, and then like, yeah, afterwards, like it's still like her eyes kind of all wonky and fucked up from that, and that's more like of a practical thing they do for the rest of the sequence. So, and yeah, even like the fake out with the shotgun being not loaded, like it was
because
just
she's in
like that
strategy and
extra beat.
logistics.
Yeah, like it was
Yeah,
so it was, again, it wasn't that the movie didn't have
yeah.
tropes, it was littered with them, but it knew what it was doing and it played with that. So it's like, just deliver the satisfaction in a clean way, and like for all of those beats, the golf, the song, the not in accounting bit, like for all of that to pay off in a way, like, again, just feels fucking good. Like it was a fun time at the movies, man. And that's
Yeah,
where, again, coming off those two art house movies that you had mentioned that I had seen, this
yeah,
is exactly what the fuck I needed.
that's true. Because to be fair, peek behind the curtains, our editor has been doing a lot of clips on The Housemaid, and I was like, wow, this is such a great episode to listen back to. Such an easy review because it was just like black and white, like the movie. Like that was bad, that was good. Ah ha ha, we all agree. Okay, move on. So I think the whole week, kind of living in The Housemaid before seeing this, I was a little bit like, oh yeah, this is going to be a neat one to talk about. So maybe that was it. I was living in the housemaid world. Like I've been down the housemaid TikTok rabbit hole trying to boost our engagement. So I think that's probably on me. But yeah. The other thing too is like I originally when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh cool, this is Sam Raimi does a triangle of sadness. Right? Like it's that same dynamic. And I think there's like the same beat where on the other side of the island there's like a hotel luxury spa or there's a mansion, and it's like, damn, like don't watch Triangle of Sadness if you don't want to spoil like a huge part of this. Or like
Yeah.
again, it's obviously it's not one to one, but I did think that was a funny setup and payoff. And even my girlfriend leaving was like, um I forgot how much I like this genre of movie. Two people that dislike each other stranded on an island. Like it's an old setup
Yeah.
archetype type thing. But again, I think it was good. And also they didn't do the thing that I think a lot of annoying movies do nowadays, where it becomes very like overwhelmingly about like
Yeah.
equality and the gender pay gap, and you know what I mean, like, which is
Yeah.
Triangle of
Yeah.
Sadness
Yeah.
was a lot about that, but in the reverse of like a male model making less because nobody cares to look at a hot man versus a hot woman. So yeah, again, I think like the movie towed the line well, it balanced it really well. Honestly, I almost wonder if I saw this in a less crowded theater, or like I said, with more cinephiles like myself, if I would have got more of a pop out of it. Because like I said, like people, getting bored and then me noticing them getting bored on their phone, or again, having a
Yeah.
conversation to stop only because the jump scare was really good. It both made the movie more enjoyable to watch these people get scared, but it also did make me start getting conscious about the runtime. So,
Yeah.
it's
No,
subjective, and that's the
I'm
beauty of it.
a little tip on this too, and I want to say too about Brandon's bit about like the expectations and the housemaid all week. I'm like, we do this for the love of the game, but it's not without cost. Okay, there's this we see a lot. We see a lot of varying degrees of quality of movie. And yeah, like it's our algorithms are all mutated now with all of this stuff. So it isn't. We don't walk away, incident free. But the point that I said to Adrian as soon as we came out of this, I'm like, certain movies, and again, it's tough. Like I feel like we'll be able to assess this a bit better. But I was like, I want to make sure like certain movies I go see on those Thursday nights, because I think they are the enthusiast crowd, where on a Saturday it could be like, well, it's Saturday night, like let's go on do a thing. And it's just like I'm really trying to hone in my sweet spot on like what's a good night to go to the movies. And better times to optimize those crowds, because I think if it's like an opening Thursday, it's more likely to be the enthusiasts that are there. And again, we had a pretty decent sized theater, and there wasn't any like kind of like I didn't see a phone the whole movie outside of the very beginning when a guy sent a text and I saw him like shut it off, put it in his like shut his phone off, which I don't even do. But you know, shut his phone off and put it away. And like honestly, the only issue I had in mind, which is, you know, a PSA to anybody, I guess if you're going to a theater, if you're eating a shitload of like pungent foods beforehand, bring some breath mints to the theater, because there was someone behind me, right behind Adriana and I actually. Every time I could tell the guy got scared or laughed, it just reeked of onions, like onion. It was like someone was cutting them right next to me. Like it was horrific. So yeah, a little shout out on that. Please breath mint up if you're going to the theater and you ate some gnarly smelling foods, guys.
And on that note, too, I would say that's a memo for the general public. But if you work at a movie theater, people are not that smart. If you put a bin of 3D glasses out front of a not 3D movie, people will wear them. They'll walk in with them on, watch all the 2D trailers, and about 10 minutes in the movie, you go, wait a second, take them off and go like this, rub them, and look at the movie again and be like, and then one guy started it, and I saw 4 or 5 other people ahead of me, and I was like middle, so there's probably people behind me still doing that. But yeah, my whole theater, again, very smooth brained, wore 3D glasses in because they were just in a bucket out front. And I could see it click for everybody around 10 minutes when one guy in the front row was like, what is this? So yeah, bring breath mints if you're an audience member, and theater employees, please don't trick audiences. Put those 3D glasses away. We're not smart people sometimes.